I think when you don't know that you're creating your life, you become a victim of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know you're the creator and you're doing it, then you can become empowered by your life, because you can realize that your life is your choices, and your choices make a difference.
Welcome to the Angelic Frequency Podcast. We are your hosts, Cristina Aroche
and Luisa, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Diane Lund. She's a creative director in her company, Creative Wonders Communications, but she's also a leading expert in A Course in Miracles. She's been leading study groups for decades. She's even a reverend specializing in A Course in Miracles. So super interesting conversation. She shared with us about her near-death experience and how that informed her life. Best-selling book author. So super interesting person and conversation. Let's dive in.
Hi, Diane. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you both.
We are very excited to have you here today, Diane, and you have just such a fascinating life journey. I can't wait to dive in. But for our listeners who are not familiar with you and your work, that's a place where we like to start with our guests. Can you tell us a little bit more about your practice and who you are and what you do?
My practice, you mean my spiritual practice?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I have been studying A Course in Miracles now for over 40 years, I guess, a long time. I got the book early and I didn't crack it open until about 9 years later. I was a real resistor. But once I got into it, I, found study groups and then did my own study groups. Eventually became a minister specializing in A Course in Miracles. But alongside that, I always had my creative career. I'm a creative director of my own company, Creative Wonders Communications. So did writing and producing for national, regional, local clients since 1992. So for a long time. So my spirituality has been my practice, and my creativity, both alongside, have been my practice. And that I've kind of tried to bring them together lately in something I called Sacred Creative Arts, trying to help people open up to the idea that they are the sole creator of their life. They're it, and your life is your biggest project, and how you create it, how you bring it into manifestation. I'm just focusing on what I call the sacred arts, the different ways to tap into your inner guidance and your inner being.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And I think that's such a powerful part of the conversation is that creative energy and that creativity. And one of the things that often comes through from the angels is how we are here to create and be creative expressions. And the question is not can I create, but what am I meant to create? And I really love how you put that into the context of life too. It doesn't necessarily just mean creating like a book or some sort of art project or whatever. How am I creating my life? And I really like that question, like kind of like having that as the guiding point or the North Star. That's really beautiful.
Because I try and teach that in every moment you are creating. If you're alive, you're creating in every moment, whether you think you are or you think you aren't. So even lying on the couch watching TV is creating lying on the couch watching TV. You can't get away from what you're creating in your life. But the difference is, are you unconscious about what you're creating, or are you conscious about what you're creating? I know people are unconscious when they say, I can't believe this is still happening to me. Or, why does this keep showing up over and over again? And getting conscious helps you just bring awareness to your process of creativity and how you're creating your own life in this world, because really that's what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that your angels tell you that, because I woke up one night. So you can imagine I got my spiritual life and I got my creative life, and they're kind of going side by side. And one night I woke up, literally sat up in bed and went, oh my God, they're the same thing. Same thing.
Right.
Your spiritual life and your creative life are the same thing. And that's when I thought, oh God, I have to bring them together.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And yeah, they're kind of the same. It's so funny how we do that sometimes in life, and we just think of ourselves in just different facets and just we put ourselves in boxes when we truly are just one multi-dimensional, multifaceted being that is just showing up authentically in whatever space we're in is just the key to living a purposeful life that truly makes sense. So it's just wonderful to see. It sounds so simple, but we can go through life for years and years without realizing that that's it. That's what you
That's
need to
it.
do. And they go together, not side by side
They
necessarily.
are
They're the two.
actually the same thing. And
Yeah.
that's what was surprising to me was, wow, you are a spiritual being here creating your life. That's what you're doing in the dualistic dimension. Once we leave our physical bodies, we will be in a spiritual dimension and only in a spiritual dimension. But while we're here, we're meant to contribute physically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
absolutely.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about how that process of merging the two together came about for you. Like, did you happen to have any resistance, or did it feel natural for it to come together from the very beginning, or was there kind of like, was it weird for you at first, or how did that unfold for you?
Well, when I had my aha moment, literally sat up in bed, aha, eureka, I was like, wow, this is really wonderful. I'm so excited. And that's why my website's called Miracles and Wonders, because it's combining Course in Miracles, but my company's called Wonders, Creative Wonders. I was always interested in the wonder of the world, and awakening that in people. So when I could bring them together, I was very happy. I didn't have a lot of resistance. And one day I sat down and just one morning, it was just a pure download, got the entire course for year 1 and year 2, like every single lesson, bang, 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 bang. And then I taught it last year 1. And then this year, which has been totally out of the box year, I heard around this time, November of last year, I heard stop everything. And as my number one practice is to listen to my inner guidance, I did stop. So I didn't teach year 2. And now I know why. Spirit told me that because my mom was going to pass and I needed to be there every day for her in the last few months. Plus, my husband went in for an operation. And, when you listen to Spirit and you don't question it,
Yeah.
unfold.
Yeah.
Just miracles. And so I didn't have any resistance to putting it together. And I did teach Sacred Creative Arts 40 tools to help you get in touch with your inner being and how to use those various different tools. So teaching people things like, well, a little bit, everything was just a taster because it was 40 weeks, 40 tools. So each week you just got a taste of a different tool, like Course in Miracles was in there, Feng Shui was in there, Human Design was in there, tons of different things to help you get in touch with your own inner being.
That's so amazing. What?
That's
That's
so cool.
incredible.
I hope they tell you to just restart very soon because it's something that we really need to do again and just jump on that train. I'm so cute. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, again, one of those things that sounds so simple. Just listen to your inner guidance and just be open to just follow through and say yes. Simple enough. So hard because we are so resistant to things that we just don't want to see. Potentially something that it's not obvious to us, something that feels like a leap of faith. But how is that going to work out? How does that make sense in my life right now? We're just like, no. And then we just don't trust and we just delay the unfolding. And it's so hard. How did you come to that state where you were just completely surrendered and open to just saying yes every single time, no matter what? Like, how did that happen?
Well, probably about 15 years ago, I decided, I was never sure that A Course in Miracles was really my path. And I was always at the spiritual smorgasbord, reading everybody's books, doing everything. And when I finally decided, I actually had a vision. And in the vision, it said, the search is over. I saw the page turn and it said, now it's the application. I was like, okay. And I decided that my number one commitment in life is going to be what I call following my dig, my divine inner guidance. And so I made that my practice. And it's taken me to very unusual places. Like it took me to BNI. I didn't want to go to BNI.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I was trying to get more spiritual and it took me to BNI. I was like, oh God. But I mean, there's a long story to that and why I did that. But I also said yes to going, say, to BNI because when the person phoned and he said, you know, I need you to come back. And I just heard a big yes. And so I've just learned to follow those inner guidance and inner prompts because if I don't, when I didn't, when I was younger, I usually thought back afterwards and thought, God, I knew that. I knew I shouldn't have gone there. Or I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyways because I didn't value my own process enough or my own inner guidance enough. And I think I heard, you know, on one of your podcasts, Sonia talk about how she's kind of in the world trying to help people get over how much negativity there's been around, you know, like following your gut, following your intuition, you know, following your angels, your guides. People just tend to negate that, or they did for years, and say it wasn't true and you're crazy, all those kinds of other things. So I learned through not following it to follow it. And now that's been my main practice. I do it no matter what. And I have to tell you, almost always I have no.
Like your reaction, right? That's your response to what.
You're human saying no.
My human ego goes, no, I just started Sacred Create. I've only taught you, I haven't taught year 2 yet. What are you telling me to do? I don't want to do that. My ego just has a real little hissy fit.
Yeah.
But I just go, that's okay. You can have your hissy fit. I don't understand why either, but I sure know I will in a year, and I have. I do know why.
You know, looking back.
And I'm so glad I listened and followed my inner guidance. And to be honest, I don't know what will happen next. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So this actually brings up a really great question. In this, I don't know what's going to happen next. Probably in that space where it's like, okay, I haven't received the next step yet from my inner guidance. So I'm in this kind of void, we'll call it, or whatever. And kind of in that, like, how do you navigate that? Because I find that a lot of people, including myself, when there's this space where you're waiting for the next divine step, but it hasn't really come through yet. And you're kind of, like you just said, I don't know what's coming next. There's a tendency for the mind to take over and just start planning or try to control and like, well, I'll just figure out what's next and I'll just put something into place when it's not necessarily what the divine guidance is because nothing has come through. So how do you navigate that? And how do you, like, where is your mind right now if you're in the space of, I don't know what's next? How do you deal with it?
Well, you know, there is a lot the ego wants to take over, right? The Course talks about the ego versus the Holy Spirit. And the ego always does want to try and control, especially when it feels like, well, there's a lack. You know, I don't have anything right now. I need to be doing something. And so I've just learned to have faith that it will come in its own time. I do use things like cards and meditation and various different techniques like that if I feel unguided. I do actually ask my own angels and guides what's going on, what's happening at the moment. They've told me that this is a period of rest that I need. And so I just accept that. And I found a new creative passion in art. I've been painting. And that is like a totally brand new thing for me. I never ever thought of myself as an artist. I thought of myself as a creative person, but not as a painter, a visual artist. So I'm trying to enjoy it. I'm really trying to enjoy it. That's what I used to tell my clients to do. You know, if business went away, like every August it went away and every December it went away because people were on vacation, enjoy.
Right.
Find something you love to do and enjoy this time and just be rather than do. I mean, you know, it's really hard to do though.
We tend to define ourselves and derive a lot of value from what we do, not who we are. So it's just hard to make sense of life if we're not doing, just being is just
Yeah.
the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I tell you, I really know that. And a girlfriend who lives in another country was checking in, just seeing how my year had gone. She's moved to Portugal, and she said very generally, "How's your year gone?" And I heard what came up inside of me was my year of living dangerously. And I was like, wow.
Okay.
Wow, my year of living dangerously. And it was like, what's that about? So I started to really think about it. And what I realized it is I have been, kind of running a business, making money, running courses, writing books, doing these things for 45 years. To stop felt dangerous
Mm.
because just felt dangerous not to make money.
Right. Yeah.
And I recognized that and I thought, well, I think maybe you need that edge. Like maybe where some people, their edge is they need to do more. Maybe my edge is I need to do less.
Mm.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
Because it's the thing that challenges you, right? Like for some
Hmm.
people, doing is no challenge. Like it's like I'll fill up all
I'll do all day long as long as I don't have to sit with myself. I'll
yeah.
just do all the things.
Exactly, right? As long as I don't have to sit with myself. But allowing myself to sit in the uncomfortableness of life a different way and realizing that my inner ego thinks, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson.
Right.
But embracing that and just being and following my inner guidance as it comes along. I've heard that I need this rest, so I'm going to take it and try and really enjoy it. And as my girlfriend said, I said, geez, I sleep until 8:30. And she's like, because up at 5:30,
Right.
And she's like, wow, that sounds luxurious, not dangerous, luxurious. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, maybe I need to shift that, reframe it
Mhm.
from dangerous to luxurious and just truly enjoy the time. And also acknowledge it's uncomfortable.
That's right.
It's uncomfortable. And I used to say to my students all the time, when you are doing something new, it will feel uncomfortable. So pat yourself on the back. You're stepping out in a new way. And I was taught that from a counselor in my teens. Sit with the uncomfortableness. Let it be. And don't try and shift it. Just ride it out. It's kind of like riding waves up and down.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to take a step back because you're so attuned with your inner guidance, with your guides, with your higher self, whatever you're drawing from, or all of it. Take us back in time to just when that started to happen, how it started to happen, does it come through for you? Because also, as we have these conversations with different people amongst ourselves, we realize we all experience it in very different ways, and how validating that is for people to hear, like how others communicate with the divine, their guides, and all.
Well, how it started for me, I think I always had the gift. And I used to talk to my parents about it when I was little. And I had lots and lots of questions about life and God and the universe as a little kid. And, I used to tell my mom I could get out of my body and sit on the roof and, I could fly around. And, she used to say, Diane, stop lying. You're lying. Stop lying. And I'd be like, well, I'm not lying, but okay. I used to do exercises when I was a kid where I would lie down on my bed and I would pull my soul as far across the universe as I could. And then I would snap it back. And I used to call it my elastic band exercise.
That's
Nobody ever
amazing.
taught me these
Isn't
things.
that great? Yeah.
I just was what happened for me as I came in with it. But I did learn that it was dangerous. Speaking of dangerous,
Mm.
to talk to a lot of people about it, especially my mom was very scared of it. And so it's always been there. But I think I did learn how to repress it and how to not listen to it because because it wasn't supported, I guess. And I wanted to fit in. And so it probably So then I was always interested in spirituality, and my parents weren't. So when I was a teenager, I went shopping for a church. I thought I could find a community, and I did find one. And my pastor, after being there and being baptized and getting communion and all those different things, he told me that I had too many questions and I better go on a spiritual search because the church didn't have the answers. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's a gift too. He gave you your freedom to just go on
He
that
was like,
journey.
Diane,
Little blessing to just go and figure this out outside of this.
yeah, he was a lovely man. And some people have said, oh, he just wanted you out of his church. I said, no, I don't think so. I think he truly cared that I wanted the answers. And so that started my spiritual search. And it went through many different, I was really into Eckankar for a while and various different spiritual things, and eventually found A Course in Miracles. And I really resisted that for a long time because it looked like the Bible to me.
And it
It
kind
did.
of reads like the Bible a little bit with the
Looks
language
like
that it
the Bible,
yeah.
has thin pages like the Bible,
Yeah.
sounds like the Bible. And my pastor had told me the answers weren't here.
Right.
So I resisted it for a long time because I thought, well, I've been there, done that. Don't need to look at that.
Right.
Yeah. But eventually, I think I always say to people, the Holy Spirit is always trying to guide you to your very best you. And it's always trying to help you find the answers. And so when I was at one of my very lowest points, and it was to do with a relationship, it was to do with a guy. Of course it was,
Oh, it's a guy.
and, he'd had a number of affairs and blah, blah, blah. We won't get into that story. But I was really crying and really upset. And I said, the very simple prayer, help me, God, help me. And I heard inside myself, look up. And I looked up. It said, take down the book.
I just got chills.
Clear. Yeah.
Whoa.
Take down the book. I knew exactly which book it was talking about. So I took down the Course in Miracles, this book, and I said, please, God, help me. And I was in the feeling of feeling unfairly treated in this relationship. And I opened to the section of the book that said, you cannot be unfairly treated. The idea that you can be is another sort of iteration of the idea that somebody other than yourself hurts you. And I went, what? Like, I couldn't believe it answered so directly.
Whoa.
And I read through the whole, it's a whole page on it, being unfairly treated. And I think everybody can relate to being unfairly treated on one level or another. And I thought, I do not understand this at all, but I think it's right.
Yeah.
And I could feel that inner, almost like a bell tolling that is like just, it's ringing your bells. It's telling you, this is it, girl. And so I went and found a study group and I started studying Course in Miracles. And at first it seemed like a different language. It was very difficult. But everybody who studied with me said, just keep at it. It's like a foreign language. When you're in the foreign language, you don't understand it, but one word makes sense and then a sentence makes sense. And eventually, one day you start to understand it. And that's literally what happened. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So then you also then started your own study group. Is that correct? What made you go through that transition?
Well, because I'll call out my first Course in Miracles teachers, Mary and Bruce Eagle. They were wonderful and they lived nearby and they decided to move away. It was a couple years into it and I was like, no, I've got to find another study group. And so I went to different study groups and they all had different sort of rules and like, you could read, but you couldn't comment, for example, in one of the groups. And I was like, oh my God, I have to ask questions because I don't understand it.
Right.
So eventually I just couldn't find a study group that I felt comfortable in. And so I thought I'll just start my own.
Okay.
And so I started my own in my home, not thinking I was a teacher by any means, just wanting to have a group, to build a community where I could explore what I didn't understand, really. I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
For a long time, I didn't understand it.
I mean, I think that's one.
Out there reading it, hang in there.
I was going to say, it's one of those books that doesn't matter how many times you go back to it. It takes on different meanings too, depending on where you're at in life. And
Yes.
we've talked about kind of that upward spiral that you're on. It's like conversations with God. It's like the Course in Miracles. It just doesn't matter. Whatever you go to the book, you'll find different lessons, different things. You'll have a different perspective on it. And yeah, it doesn't quite make sense, but you'll get what you need out of it in the moment. But you can just keep reading that book forever and just
Yeah, no, you really
finding
can.
wisdom.
You can really read this book forever. And now you're always, as you say, Louisa, at a different point in the spiral. And so you're seeing things with new eyes all the time
Yeah.
and with new understanding. And yeah, I think we are often given core challenges in our life. Like before we come down here, we pick our core challenges that we're going to be working on. And I don't think those really change through our life. I just think we become a little bit more evolved around them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, people say, geez, I thought I dealt with this.
Right.
My other issue or whatever, But now you're just dealing with it at the next level.
Right.
The next level of awareness, and how do you get yourself out of there and find new and better ways to do it. But okay, we all come with core challenges. That's a great segue to dive into something that I've been dying to talk to you about on the podcast, and that is you did go back to source and face your core challenges. So can you please tell us a little bit more about your near death experience and what it was to be back there with a whole new level of clarity, but then coming back here? What was that like? I know, what a bummer.
The bummer coming back was, so I did have a near-death experience in my knees. And I ended up in the hospital and I was basically dying. I was slowly bleeding to death internally and the doctors didn't know what was wrong. And I'd had a ruptured ovarian cyst, and which had landed me in the hospital, but they'd misdiagnosed it. It's a long story. I was lying in my hospital bed, slowly dying for about a month. And then finally one doctor that they flew in said, kind of grabbed a hold of me in the bed and almost shook me, said, you're a very sick girl. You should be saying something. But I could no longer talk.
Whoa.
I was that sick. And I remember thinking, well, of course I'm a sick girl. What are you talking about? In my own head, right? Answering him. Anyways, I was on the operating table the next day because he kind of figured out what was wrong. And I found myself out of my body looking down on the operating table. And this, honest to God, is the truth. I wondered who's on the table.
Right. Yeah.
Who's on the table? I don't recognize them because I'm here and I'm fine. So who's that? Who's on the table?
Wow.
And I was confused, actually literally confused about who was down there because it wasn't me. I knew it wasn't me because I was on the roof looking down and I was fine.
Yeah.
How could that be me? And then the thought occurred to me, well, do you just want to go?
Oh, wow.
And I thought, yeah, I just want to leave. I don't have any connection to that thing on the table.
Wherever that is.
Whatever that is, whoever it is, I don't feel any connection to them. And so I just left. And that's when I had my near-death experience. And so I went through the kind of typical tunnel and, all of that and emerged on the other side. And what my experience involves, I won't get too detailed about it, but I didn't have like some people, they have a field of flowers or, a magical castle, or I didn't have any of that. For me, I was just launched into the light and love of God in such bliss. It's really difficult to explain. It was like pinky gold light that was undulating and moving and almost singing a sound at the same time. And I merged with it. And the minute I merged with it, I felt this unbelievable bliss. Like you can't even imagine the
Wow.
beauty of it, the bliss of it. And I just kept saying, I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. I mean, I just was so happy. I mean, it touches me now, even
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
I was just so happy to be home. And I could feel thousands of other souls with me. And I could feel us all joined, but I still knew who I was.
Mm,
So, some people have described it like you're a drop of water in an ocean,
right.
but you still know that drop of water is you. But you also know you're connected with all of these other souls that are also with you and connected to you. And so I was like, I'm home. This is it, very, very happy. And then I heard a voice that basically called me and it said, you can't be here. I said, but I want to be here. And they said, but no, you've made another choice. And I was like, well, I want to be here. I made the choice. I made the choice to leave. I made the choice. And so I had this big argument with whoever it was about why I wanted to stay and that they couldn't make me go back. And they basically said, sorry. And then I was sucked back
Whoa.
into my body. And so I was actually really mad when I came
Right.
back. I was quite mad that I woke up back in my body.
Oh my goodness.
And I was mad for a long time. When I was in recovery, I would pull out all of my needles and things that they were intravenous that they were trying because I didn't want to be there.
Great. Take me back.
Yeah, take me back. I wanted to go back. But I did come back with a few gifts, which one of the gifts was, you don't have, like up to that point in my life, I thought I had to work really hard because I couldn't see how you could put so much. I had so much to do and I couldn't figure out how you're going to do it in one lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And what I understood really clearly when I came back is you don't have to do it in one lifetime.
Mm,
It's not
What it
about,
means. Yeah. You have time.
it's not a race. There actually is no time. It's a human concept. And that, I guess the way to describe it was it felt like a
mm-hmm.
and also it felt like what I'd always known was true. I now had the felt experience of knowing it was true. And so I don't really mind that other people don't buy my spiritual experiences. It doesn't matter to me because I know it's true.
As
Right.
long as you know your truth, and that's all that really matters.
I know it's true. And I had two parents who didn't believe. And, both of my parents, after they passed, came back one way or another to tell me. My mom, who just passed this year in May, she came back through a psychic on her birthday and said, Diane, I was really, really frightened to die because I didn't believe there was anything afterwards. And she said, you did. But I just couldn't get there. I just didn't believe. And she said, so I was so frightened to die. And she said, you tried to tell me, but I didn't believe you. But guess what? She said, it's a happy surprise. It's all true. You were right, she said.
Lovely. So lovely.
And my dad came back. I'll just tell you this quick one because this is pretty amazing. My dad was dying of cancer and we knew he was going to pass. And he kept asking me what on the other side. I kept trying to talk to him about it. He said, Diane, I don't believe in, he said, I wish I did, but I don't. And so he also had a bit of a tough time. Anyways, my sister went to Europe and she knew my dad was really sick. And she said, if my dad dies while she's gone, don't tell her because she can't come back. She's not going to come back. He's already passed. So my dad did die and he died on Father's Day, actually. And we didn't tell her. And she came back a couple of weeks later. Now, before I tell you that, I want to say that my dad, the day he died, that night I woke up and there was a red light in the corner of my room and I was frightened. I had two dachshund dogs And they started barking. I got frightened. I ran downstairs and I was like, oh no, I know it's my dad, but I'm scared. And so then I thought, Diane, put your big girl pants on. Get back up there. You, of all people, shouldn't be frightened. And so I did, and the light was still there, and I lay back down on my bed, and I said, Dad, I know it's you. What do you have to say? And he said, Diane, you were right. But it's even better than you said. I already have a job, he said, and I'm so excited, and I just wanted to make sure you knew. So that was very reassuring to me. So both of my parents have reached out after their death and let me know, which is kind of nice. But my sister came back from Europe a couple weeks later, and she had been in Italy and she'd been in Venice, and she brought us back each a red heart made of glass. And she said, you don't have to tell me Dad died. I already know. He came to me as a red light. Told me he had passed and said goodbye that way. And so she brought us each a red glass heart to wear at the funeral to signify Dad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm just getting like waves of chills.
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, wonderful.
I never heard of anyone coming back as a red light, but when I started to tell a couple of people, they told me to look for this book about this guy who did these regressions with people, life between lives or something. I forget what his name is now. But anyways, they said they had read about somebody who'd seen a red light in one of his books. And so I did get his books and I did then start to read about it. And yeah, that was true. I did actually read in his books. I'm just trying to see Michael Newton, Journey of Souls.
Journey of Souls. Okay.
And Destiny of Souls. Those two books. He's sort of like Doreen Cannon in that. Do you know who she is? She did
Yes. She did many like past life regressions through hypnosis and things like that.
Yes. Yeah, and so did he. He specialized in life between life. So just what happens to you after you pass. And he would hypnotize people and they would tell the stories.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's fascinating. I was drawn to a lot of that lately, and Dolores Cannon and past life regressions and experiences like that. And the in between is just such an interesting place to be. And the fact, for example, your dad, I already have a job. Like, what is this job? What are you doing out there? It's just fascinating to even
Angels have jobs. Angels have jobs.
Yeah.
And have you read Angels in My Hair?
Yes, Lorna is just
Lorna Byrne, right? And she talks about how many angels are currently unemployed because people have stopped believing in them and they can't interfere unless you ask.
Yeah.
So not enough people are asking their angels and guides for help.
Yeah.
And as this is a free will zone, they're not allowed to interfere.
right.
And so, but if you ask,
They're right there, ready.
they're right there. And so I always tell people, ask your guides, ask your angels, ask them to assist you, ask for the answer, and then trust that it's given. Because it's always given. In fact, I pulled a card just before the show. Cards from my deck of cards. I just picked a card. I always have the deck here. Just thought I'll pick a card to see what the Holy Spirit has to say. And as I'm saying this, I heard pick up the card.
I love it when they do that.
And it says the Holy Spirit does not speak first, but he always answers. And what that means in A Course in Miracles terms is the ego usually is the loud first voice to speak. And so it's the one that goes, no!
Right.
I don't want to do that. That's too tough.
Yeah.
So the Holy Spirit does not speak first, but he always answers. And I really believe that. I believe your angels and guides are just waiting for you to employ them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask them for guidance. Ask them for assistance. I mean, you must know this, Cristina. You work with.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask you, Christina, like, tell me your perspective on it,
Yeah,
and just
that was your
in the
perspective.
room with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely, the way that I see it too, it almost feels like as though they're standing there and it's like, yeah, they're not gonna, they can't interfere. It's almost like they want to, but it's like they can't. There's like a force that doesn't let them come in, you know? And so it is like the more that we are even just acknowledging their presence, even just that is almost like a window starts to open and that connection starts to build. And so the more that we're connecting with them, talking to them, asking them, just even just like I said, communicating with them, like, hey, like I had such a hard day and da da da, and I'm just so like, please help me, you know, or whatever. It that already starts to shift your energy field, and it starts to shift then how you perceive their presence, and then the solutions and the guidance and all that that comes in, you know. And so yeah, it's one of those things where absolutely we need to remember that they're there to support us and remember how we are all connected. I think that's the biggest thing too. So many people have this perception that, well, I'm not special, or who am I to call on the angels or ask them about, you know, ask them to support me. There's bigger problems in the world, little old me, like who cares, you know, that kind of mentality towards it. And I'm just like, no, they are here to support you. There's nothing that is separating them. Like space and time isn't a thing for them. So a million people can call on Archangel Michael or on their angels or whatever and be supported, you know? That's how it's
Yeah,
supposed to be.
it is. And we were never meant to be disconnected. We were never meant to be disconnected from our guidance. And I think that's what's going to come back. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
That's the big turning, is that we are going to, especially with AI, we are going to have to turn more within,
Mhm.
because AI is able to do everything on the outside, or a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so, take my job as a writer for 45 years. You can go to AI right now and ask it to write whatever you want,
Mhm.
and it will do it quickly and for free. And so I was always turning inward anyways and developing that part of myself. But I think now, I always said when I developed the Sacred Creative Art course, was there's about 3 things that AI can't do. One of them is they don't have a soul or spirit. So it's hard for them to connect in.
Mhm.
2, they don't have inner clairs. They don't have clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience, all. And so I think as a lot of the outward stuff is taken care of, we're going to be asked to, because it will define us uniquely as not technology.
Right.
It will define our humanism to be able to connect in with that. And the other thing is creativity. Nobody can be your creative self. Only you can be you.
Yeah.
And those are the 3 things and that's why I created Sacred Creative Arts, because I thought people need to start getting some tools if they don't already have them. Course in Miracles is one tool,
Mhm.
but the Course says, this is a universal teaching, and there are many ways to receive this information. You don't, if the book doesn't appeal to you and you don't get it that way, don't worry. There's not just one way.
Yeah.
Other.
The universe will find a way to help you receive it. And I've always been a big believer that just getting connected with your own inner self will connect you with the divine. We are meant to be connected. We're meant to be, we're we, not me. We're we.
Mhm.
That's right.
And so I think helping people connect, I actually think this is why there's so much anxiety in young people, is that they haven't been taught how to connect inward with themselves. And they're constantly focused outward,
Yeah.
almost obsessively.
Mhm.
And the phones need to be put down.
Yeah.
And they need to come back to themselves, because they can't find themselves. They can't find themselves. They're trying to find themselves in the image outside of themselves. And
Yeah.
that's not who they are. You are not. I mean, You're not that body. You have that body. You're a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. And
I think it's going to be so challenging for this generation, for sure. Like, to think, we remember a time when we were just us and we didn't have this appendix of a phone like all the time. For them, though, they're born
yes,
in it, with it. I can see my daughter just trying to flip through books like with her finger like that. I'm like, no. So it's just something that comes like inside of her, and it's such a different connection with technology. And how do we separate that and find our own humanity and our own individuality separated from this very, it's everywhere. It's everywhere in our house. Everything's automated now with AI. I can't even imagine. So it's going to be so challenging. I even heard a story earlier today, actually. Funny that you should mention that, with about a person who's able to see other people's auras and things like that, and that she mentioned how it's funny walking around when someone's holding a phone. She can't see their aura when someone's not with technology and without their phones. She can clearly see their aura. So you can just, in the energy, how it's just sucking literally our energy in it, and how it's just taking over our
Right.
field in such a strong way that it just disappears. You're just literally sucked into your phone. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges of our generation, myself included. I'm glued to my phone all the time. And so, yeah, that's going to be a hard one.
Yeah, I have a couple of practices with my phone. My phone, I'm at my desk where I work right now. My phone is with me at work, but I leave it here at 5. And so I don't pick it up till the next day. And
Whoa.
I tell my friends, if you really want to
Talk
get a
about
hold of
living
me,
dangerously.
talk about living dangerously. I just leave my phone
Yeah.
and I don't look at it until the next day. And on the weekends,
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at it at all.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I
Amazing.
just leave it
Great
here Friday
passion.
at 5. Don't look at it sometimes until Monday at 10.
Wow.
Wow.
Because you know what? There's a part of me that feels, my phone makes me feel guilty.
Mm,
I got to be answering everybody. I got to be on top of things, and if I'm not, I'm feeling guilty. And I thought to myself, that's no way to feel. Do you
yeah.
want to feel guilty? No, put your phone down. Enjoy your life. If it's really important, they can call you, on the telephone.
Right.
I have a home phone. A lot of people don't have a landline, but I do. Yeah. But the reason we have a landline is this phone doesn't work very well because we live surrounded by big boulders
Mm-hmm.
and the phone doesn't work that well. Yeah. In fact, there's a huge rock that my house goes right up against, and the rock literally comes into my house in my kitchen. And we built a marble shelf, and on top of it, we have like a 150-gallon fish tank.
Wow.
Yeah, that sits on the rock. So literally the rock comes right into my house.
That's so cool. That's amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And it really is. I think we do, like, as we continue, we will have to implement things like that with regards to technology, and just, having those boundaries, and just not allowing it to suck our energy into it. And I really like that. That's so inspiring, to just leave your phone after a certain time and don't even look at it. I immediately felt anxious, like, well, what if you need
Yeah.
to check in? Like,
Afterwards,
what was my response? Yeah.
when an email, like, yeah, the
Yeah.
world's not ending.
The world will not end if you don't look at your phone.
Yeah.
And, there is another way to communicate besides your phone. And that's just with your own intuition. My own intuition will tell me if something has gone awry. It will alert me. And I have faith that there is a different mode of communication. And I think our phones are trying to teach us, and the internet is trying to teach us, that experience I had on the other side where I felt totally connected with everyone. I believe we are totally connected with everyone, and that we can communicate telepathically with everyone. And I think that's coming. We actually have that ability. We just haven't used it. And I think about these internal abilities that we haven't honed. because the society has been so interested in doing rather than being. It's sort of like math. If nobody taught me math, I wouldn't spontaneously break into math.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some of these things have to be taught.
Yeah.
We have to, focus with our children and help them find their inner voice and their inner, they'll find their inner critic, believe you me.
Well, pretty fast.
But, find the inner voice that is loving and calming and that will alert them when there's danger or when something needs, like my little inner voice. I don't know about your guys, but I mean, it attends to the tiniest details. So let me here's one you'll probably all relate to. You're running out the door, you're probably late, and your inner voice says, take your umbrella.
Yes.
And you think, I'm late. I don't have time to run back. And so you don't run back. And then you get caught in the rain.
Out in the rain. And
You're absolutely soaked. And you thought, I knew better.
you knew it.
Yep.
Well, my guidance was trying to help me not get soaked.
Yeah.
Very interesting stories in A Course in Miracles with the woman who channeled it, Helen Schuckman, and they're not in this Course in Miracles book. They're in the purple one. In this one,
Okay.
which is the Circle of Atonements one, they have a whole bunch of essays at the back, which are stories
Even
from,
scarier than the original. That's so big.
stories in the back that are essays about Helen's life
Wow.
and the things that she learned and the Holy Spirit taught her personally.
Amazing. I didn't know that existed.
I didn't know that version existed. Yeah.
This one it said, Course in Miracles based on the original handwritten notes of Helen Schuckman. Much easier to read.
Wow.
And much more complete because this is the edited down version.
Interesting.
Ken Wapnick helped them edit it, and so did Bill Thetford. They edited it down, took out a lot of the personal stuff that was about Helen
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't want it.
Right.
And she didn't want it in. But anyways, at one point, the Holy Spirit is talking to her and saying she'd gone out all day looking for a coat. And she spent the whole day looking for a coat and she never found one. And then she got home and she was too tired to tune in to the Holy Spirit. And so when she did finally tune into the Holy Spirit, it said to her, you just need to ask me. You spent an entire day looking for a coat. I could have taken you to the right coat right away. And then you would have had all the time to spend channeling with me. But instead, your ego took over. You think you know better and you try and run the show. And when you do that, you waste time. It was his point. You waste.
So good.
Good. And we do it all the time.
Yeah.
We think we know better. And we're like, when I fix this problem, I'll have time to go and meditate. It's like, no, if you meditate, the solution will, surface.
Exactly.
You'll know what to do. It's so funny when we try to think our way through, like, out of problems and out of situations when all we need to do is actually tune in. But we're so frazzled and we're like, but I'm in the middle of a crisis. How am I going to sit down and meditate right now? And that's exactly what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I can think of a million times where my inner guide was like, grab the umbrella, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I should have listened. It was
I
right.
mean, speaking of angels, because this is the Angelic Frequency podcast, I mean, listening to my inner guidance has brought me so many beautiful things. One time I was driving on the highway and I heard my inner guidance said, turn here. I was like, okay, so I turned and we're heading down the road and it said, and I said, where are we going? And it said, to the bookstore. And I'm thinking, I don't want to go to the bookstore. I'm going to my sister's or wherever I was going. I don't want to go to the bookstore. But I decide to follow the guidance. It takes me to the bookstore. We park. We walk in the thing. It says, take the elevator to the next floor. I take the elevator to the next floor. It says, now turn left. Now turn left again. Now turn right. Now turn left. Now face the bookshelf. It's on the second shelf. And then it's like I run my finger over that book right there. And it was Lauren Burns' book.
Angels in my hair.
I'd never heard about it. But
Wow.
Spirit led me right to the book. And I think Spirit led me to that book because Lorna wasn't believed as a child either.
Mm.
Nobody believed her. They thought she was crazy. And that's kind of what happened to me with my mom too. And so I think
The validation and the
it was
connection.
validation. Diane, relax.
That's
Angels
incredible.
are
Yeah.
So I find though, but you have to really play with this. Just play with it. Have fun. That's what I say to people. If you think you've gotten some guidance, you really don't agree with it. I said almost always that's how it comes in. It's asking you to do not the easy thing, but often the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's going to challenge you.
Yeah.
And so just try following it and see what happens, because I find that's when miracles occur.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've had so many of them in my own life that confirm it for me. And that's why I wanted to put it out there. And now, you guys have such a wonderful opportunity in this age that we didn't have. I had all my study groups in my home. People from Richmond said it's too far to drive,
Which
right?
too far, you just didn't have the opportunity. Now we have a good way to use technology to bring
Yeah.
us together in these lovely ways if we allow it, instead of doom scrolling or doing.
It's amazing. It's amazing nowadays. And I said, I think the internet's trying to teach us we're all one and that we have the ability to communicate. I think eventually without this in our head.
Absolutely. Just to tell you a couple anecdotes around that and that type of communication. My mom grew up doing that with my grandpa, and they didn't use the phone or alarm clocks and things like that. They just talked to each other and they just knew, and they just picked up the phone because, like, yes, what? Like, it just like they knew before, and they didn't need to use the phone or anything like that. And then I probably can't. Well, I tried to, because I know that I've tried to do that. I know when my mom's wants me to call her, and she's like, "Oh, it took you long enough." But I eventually I'll give her a call. But I have the urge. I just need to pick up the phone. I can't help it. I know she's calling me, and so I do absolutely believe in that, because it's true, and I've felt it my whole life.
And usually people do feel it in their families.
Mm.
They feel it to a sibling or to their parents. They know when that person's in danger or when they want to talk to you.
You can feel it when you leave your phone away, and then something's happening. Your phone is blowing up because of whatever. You suddenly are like, what's happening? There's something, like, my phone. Where is it? I need. And then you'll find whatever is calling. Right? We just need to, exercise that muscle. And I think I'm going to take on that, like your story about leaving your phone, as a challenge, and just give myself the opportunity to do that Monday to Friday, and just leave my phone, choose a time, leave your phone, and come back the other
I tell you,
day.
people will get angry, and I just tell them it's just my own little personal boundary. And if you really need me, call my landline.
Mhm.
But, it's how I disconnect.
Yeah.
How you recharge, actually.
Yeah, that's a better word, Louisa, that, I actually recharge. And you know what? That's when I spend time with my husband. And, it's good to spend time with your husband or your
You
loved
can
one or
connect
your
with your
partner.
family, with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, like that's when you connect. And and I don't like it when people are constantly, connecting with you and then looking on their phone and connecting with you and looking on their phone. I mean, I think it's sad nowadays that I go to restaurants and I see whole families, the entire family
Right.
is there in the restaurant and each of them is looking at their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, when did that happen? Because I know it's important, but also so's family important.
Right. And it happens so quickly. It's like we blinked and all of a sudden all these devices are in all of our hands and we're just so consumed by them and all the things. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's very true. I do think they have a good purpose, and why your little daughter is able to want, she's trying to,
Scroll the book.
scroll the book is because when a child is born, they're born to the full knowledge that is contained on the planet in that moment. So when I was born with the full knowledge of the planet in that moment. Now, when your baby was born decades later, the information is totally different. Totally different. And that's what's called the generation gap. That's why there's a gap, because people like me are going to have to learn it. People like your daughter are born with it.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Born with the knowledge.
Yeah.
We
And
say
so-
all the time about kids, like they just come different. And it's like, yeah, they come equipped with what they need.
Yeah.
They come equipped with the knowledge that exists at the time that they were born. So she already knows all that. She'll be a natural.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's just born with that kind of information. So I think, but it's interesting because in my mind, I used to see my own death, and I was surrounded by children, and the children are telepathic with me.
Wow.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
So I think the kids will put down the phones.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Ultimately, and I do think one of the things that will come back is our ability to communicate with each other without the device.
Yeah.
We're already doing it.
We do. We just need to acknowledge it. Yeah.
You need to just be aware we're already doing it.
Yeah.
And we're already, reaching out well, a lot of us do it at night, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
And
reach
how
out
many
to,
times have we been like, the phone rings or someone messages and we're like, oh, I was thinking of you. Oh, I was about to message you. It just happens all the time. We don't give ourselves space to acknowledge that that's what it's actually happening and that we're doing it.
and what you guys are doing is helping normalize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really, really, really great. So I want to say, amazing job, because you're helping to normalize that, and people aren't so frightened to talk about it.
Yeah.
They're kind of in the closet.
Right. That's our whole thing, is helping to normalize it, helping people to be able to feel like they're just part of the conversation with us as we're having these conversations, and whatever they've been experiencing or thinking, it's like, oh yeah, I feel that way too, or I thought that too, or and like you said, normalizing it. And I really I hope, I know that what you were saying about the telepathic communication and actually being able to put our phones down and continue to develop this skill. I really see that as the way forward. It's the only way forward, and yeah.
And it will be what makes us unique. And so a lot of the stuff that was valued before, the academic learning and stuff, it's not that it's not going to be valued, but it's just so available at the palm of your hand. There's no reason to memorize it, or, it's there. Bang, bang, bang.
Exactly.
So we will have to develop, I think, these inner gifts that we have. We have to start acknowledging our inner gifts, our inner connections, and use them.
Yeah, 100%. And we're so grateful that there's people like you out there who are supporting others in coming back to their creativity and coming back to that spiritual connection and remembering who they are. Essentially, I feel at the end of the day, that's what this journey is about. It's remembering that and bringing that back. So I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this conversation today. This was so good. I feel like we could keep talking for another hour. There's so much. We didn't even get a chance to talk about your books or anything. So we need to do a part 2.
Yeah, definitely. Part 2. And I can talk to you a little bit more. I've always used this little tool in my Creative Wonders thing, which is about creative manifesting. And I used it in my business for the past 20 years. And so, but now I see that it's also how people manifest spiritually. So
Yeah.
happy to come back and talk about how people do that.
Yes.
Because I think if people know, I think when you don't know that you're creating your life, you become a victim of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But when you know you're the creator and you're doing it, then you can become empowered by your life, because you can realize that your life is your choices, and your choices make a difference. As the Course in Miracles says, choose again. If you don't like what you've manifested, choose again. It says that a million times.
I love that. That's incredible. That's such a great way to wrap up this episode, I feel like. So beautiful, so wonderful. If you could please share, Diane, how people can connect with you, learn more from you, and, just stay in touch with you. Where can people find you these days?
Well, they can go to miraclesandwonders.ca. That's a website. You can sign up for my free Monday Miracle Moments, which is little videos I do every Monday. And I put out on a Facebook group. And my idea is that you just get your toe put in the water with A Course in Miracles, so you can learn about it that way. It's all free. You can sign up on my website, where there's a place there to sign up. I also have some free downloads there. I have some evergreen courses there. And if you want to see my creative work, you can go to creativewonders.ca. And I'm just wondering, is it miraclesandwonders.com? No, .ca. I just wanted to make sure. I'm doubting myself.
Put it on the show notes. We're 100% sure.
Yeah. Okay, here I go. I got to get back on there. Okay. But yeah, and they can reach out to me at diane@creativewonders.ca. So if you want to email me personally or whatever, yeah, I'm always open. And who knows, I might start my Sacred Creative Arts course again.
Yes.
Can't wait for you to open the doors again. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah. So anyways, you can check those websites out. And thank you again, ladies. This was a wonderful chat. It really was wonderful.
Thank you so much for your time, for being open to being here with us and spending the time. It was such a lovely conversation, and we'll definitely bring you back for a part 2.
Okay, I love it. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.